Hey everybody, it's Jason. I just finished taking the PenTest Plus version 2 beta exam tonight. So I just want to give you some quick feedback on it because I know I'm going to get a ton of questions from folks about PenTest Plus as it switches over to version 2 later this year. So a couple things you should know. The beta exam is available right now. If you take the beta exam, you can schedule it at pearsonview.com and they'll charge you $50 to take that exam. You can take it in person and you can take it using OnView at home, which is how I ended up doing it. Now, when you take the beta exam, remember, you're not going to get your results until the official exam launches, which means if you take it right now in April, May, or June, you're not going to get your results and you won't be certified until October. So keep that in mind. Second thing about beta exams, remember, there's no official study material for it yet. You only have the list of objectives that's available if you go to CompTIA's website. You can download those. They are available for the 002, and you can compare it to the 001 material that's out there. I will tell you, it is very similar to the 001. There have just been a couple of minor changes between version 1 and version 2. That said, you're not going to find textbooks for version 2 yet. They don't come out until October, November, December. You're not going to find a course from me or practice exams until October, November, December, because that is when the launch is going to happen. When they do the official launch, and you'll be paying the full price for the pen test exam at that point, you'll get your test results the same day. You'll have study materials to use for the exam. So if you want to take the pen test version 2, and you're planning on doing it from official study materials, you're going to have to wait until later this year. The beta exam is designed for people who already work in the industry, already have studied the version 1, probably already certified version 1, and then decide to take the exam. It's a way for CompTIA to see what questions are good and what questions are bad and try to get feedback on the exam. They do this every time about 5 months, 4, 5, 6 months before the official exam launches. Okay, so that's that part of it. PenTest version 2 official exam will be out October, November, December. They say around October, but with COVID, that could change and be delayed. But we should be probably somewhere in the October, November, December timeframe later this year. That means we're going to be starting the overlap period. And this is where I get a ton of questions from students. Should I take version 1? Should I take version 2? When is version 1 going away? All those type of things. Well, version 1 doesn't go away until the end of Q2 in 2022. That means June. So we have over a year, it's actually 14 months from when I'm recording this message right now, that you have to get certified if you want to get certified under version 1. The current version 1 that you all have access to, practice exams, textbooks, video courses, all of that stuff, 14 more months is what you've got. So you got plenty of time to get it done. Now, the real question that people probably have is, what is the difference between PenTest version 1 and PenTest version 2? Well, every CompTIA exam goes through a rotational cycle, and every 3 years they redo the exams. They add some things to the objectives, they take some things away from the objectives to try to make it a better exam. If you saw CISA, which this happened last year with CISA, there was a huge change between version 1 and version 2. The test got a lot harder than it was before. Thankfully, PenTest is not in that category. From what my personal experience with the exam tonight was that it was very equivalent to PenTest version 1. The big differences that you're going to see. In PenTest version 1, we had some what I call give me questions. They're basically reviews from Security Plus, like what is an advanced persistent threat? What is a script kiddie? What is some really easy things like knowing what an SQL injection is? By seeing, 1 = 1 or 7 = 7. Those type of questions seem to have been gone. In fact, the threat actors, that entire objective is no longer in the exam. Instead, what they've done in PenTest Plus version 2 is they have focused a lot more on the procedures of setting up a pen test and cleaning up and reporting on a pen test. There's a lot more procedural stuff that was in the objectives for version 1, but I found very few questions on the version 1 exam related to those things. In version 2, I got a lot of those questions. So, what do you do when you're on a system and you find evidence of an attack? Stop your pen test, contact your client, right? Those kind of things were on this exam. So keep those things in mind. It's very much covering the procedures of things. Okay, second thing, as far as the technical abilities, you need to know a lot of the things you need to know from version 1. You still need to know Nmap. You better know Nmap. There's an entire objective in version 2 that covers Nmap and all the syntax that goes with NTAP. whether it is figuring out how to do versioning of a piece of a port and knowing what service is on that port and what the version is, knowing how to do versioning of an operating system, knowing how to do your timing of Nmap, knowing how to output to a greppable file, knowing how to parse those files and find information. I saw a lot of questions on Nmap. Don't be surprised because there is an entire exam objective that says no Nmap and all these different syntaxes. So you better be familiar with that. Some of the other tools that were in there from the objectives, right? You're going to see things like curl. You're going to see things like aircrackng and Kismet and Metasploit and Responder and lots of other ones. And they're all listed in your exam objective. So they're not going to be a surprise to you. Do you need to know all the ways and all the syntax for every single command? No, but for some of the big ones, you should be at least comfortable enough to pick the right answer out of 4 answer choices. So if you're in my PenTest Plus version 1 course, we have a video where we go through how to use aircrackng. Watch that video and you'll know how to use aircrackng and how to set up a monitoring for it and how to, pull out do a de-authentication attack and know how to collect information off a wireless network, right? If you're going to use John the Ripper, I've got a video on John the Ripper and it shows you what kind of things John the Ripper can do. If you're going to have a question on SQL injections, you should know what an SQL injection is, what it looks like, and if you see what it looks like, what would you do to remediate it? Same thing with things like digital certificates. Same things for all the different types of attacks that we cover in version 1 of the course. We show you things like remote file inclusions, local file inclusions, command injection, SQL injection, XML injection, all those things. You need to know what they are. You need to be able to recognize them when you see them, and what would you do to prevent them, right? Those are all kind of things that are fair game, and you're going to see a lot of that inside PenTest version 2, and it's also in version 1. Personally, I think if you went through my PenTest practice exams for version 1 and you were getting 90% plus on those 6 exams, you will probably do really well on this beta. That's my personal opinion. Like I said, the stuff that's not covered in my practice exams are kind of common sense because it's more of the procedural things around pen testing. So if you have worked as a pen tester at all, or even just kind of an idea of what a pen tester does, you'll probably do well on those questions. For the most part, the questions were pretty straightforward. Most of the stuff that were technical was going to be, we'll give you a snippet of code, 5, 6, 7 lines, and ask you, what does this do? Or here's 5, 6, 7 lines and something doesn't work. Which line is broken? And as you read it, you'll kind of go, oh, it looks like it's broken here because they forgot to do, I don't know, declare a variable, or they put something in the wrong place, or whatever it was. The logical flow doesn't match, right? So things like that are fair game. Other things you'll see is an output of Nmap, and then being able to read that and being able to say, oh, based on this output, these ports are open. That means this is a Windows or Linux system. Or these ports are open, therefore this is something I would want to explore further for part of my attack. Again, things that we cover in our version 1 course as well. So it's totally fair game. But yeah, a lot of stuff like that. So like I said, if you're going through our pen test practice exams, version 1, you'll do well on version 1 and you'll do well on version 2. Be comfortable with commands. Being able to identify how to write out a command is important. Not that you're going to have to type it out on the keyboard in the exam, because all the questions are A, B, C, or D, with the exception of 3 to 5 PBQs. But you do need to know that because you might get 4 answer choices that all look very similar, and the only difference is, did you use SS or SV or -O inside of an Nmap command? And so identifying how to write that command out and being able to identify what this output will be generated by based on these syntaxes is going to be important. And again, I'm not telling you anything you shouldn't already know because it's in the exam objectives. It tells you that. There's a very clear objective in both version 1 and version 2 that says Nmap, and it takes up about this much, about a quarter of the page, with all the things they want you to know about Nmap in the objectives. So, all that said, one of the questions I always get from students, should I wait for version 2 or should I take version 1? The answer is, take the version you're ready for. If you're ready to take PenTest Plus between now and the end of the year, go ahead and do version 1. There's nothing wrong with that. If you are going to start taking an exam, say January of next year, January, February, I would probably take version 2 at that point. January, February, you could probably take either one, but as you start getting into February, March, April, and getting closer to the end of the retirement of version 1, I would definitely switch over to version 2. And the reason for that is I've just seen this with every CompTIA exam. The first month or two an exam comes out, the questions are kind of all over the place. Some are really good, some are really bad. After about month 2 or 3, the exam stabilizes, and it usually is a very good exam from about 3 months to about 2.5 years. The last 3 or 4 months of an exam, when you have both exams out and there's that overlap cycle, that tends to be when things get really hard. Right now, Security Plus is going through that with version 5 and version 6. I find the version 5 is a lot harder right now than it was 3 years ago. I find version 6 is a lot easier now than it was 3 months ago. So I recommend people take version 6 of Security Plus right now. And the same recommendation is going to happen with PenTest. I will recommend that you take PenTest version 1 up through about December, January of this year. And then you should be switching over, if you're going to be taking a test anytime after January, you should be taking version 2. And again, the difference between version 1 and version 2, it's not a whole lot of difference. It's probably 10 or 15% difference on the exam. And I found that the questions they took was just the really, really easy stuff out, and they added more procedural stuff. So if you look at the objectives, read through them, you'll do fine if you're going to take the beta. And again, if you're studying for PenTest Plus, go ahead and finish up version 1, because we've still got 14 months that version 1 is still out there. And for at least the next 8 months, I would recommend sticking with PenTest version 1, unless you want to take the beta. And if you do, you need to sign up now, because the last exams are on June 22nd, but they reserve the right to cancel out those exams towards the end if they've gotten enough candidates. The idea with the beta exam is they have a certain number of people they want to take it, which is why I always take them as soon as they offer them. As you see, this is April 13th is when they offered it. I'm recording this video April 15th. It was the first appointment I could get to take that exam, so I could get a look at it and see what it's going to look like, so I can build you a better course for version 2, which is what I'm going to be starting to do in about a month from now. We'll start filming and working on that version 2 course so we can have it out by the launch in October, November, December. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'll be glad to answer what I can. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what PBQs I got. That would be cheating. But if you listen to what I said in the last 12 minutes of this video, you've got a pretty good idea of what you need to know to be able to pass this exam, including the PBQs. So talk to you guys later, and hopefully that helps. See you then.